What every Formula One fan wants is to see competition at the front. A three-way battle for both championships. We thought we could potentially see that fight this year. With Red Bull hit with a sporting penalty, everybody thought that Ferrari and Mercedes, especially Mercedes, will bring the fight to the Milton Keynes-based team this year. I think Ferrari is well in the mix, but Mercedes, I don't think so. You probably might have watched a lot of videos, which suggests that Mercedes is sandbagging with its W14 at the Bahrain Pre-Season Testing. Even we did a video about that, but today we got some evidence to prove that Mercedes is not sandbagging at all this season, and in today's video, I am going to tell you why. The 2023 Formula One season is underway, with the first two practice sessions done and dusted at the Bahrain International Circuit. If you watched those two practice sessions, you would not have seen Lewis Hamilton and George Russell any closer to Red Bull or Ferrari. The fastest Mercedes was nearly 6/10 slower than the fastest time set by Fernando Alonso on the Aston Martin on the second practice session at Bahrain. Practice sessions are not a reference point, but let's just think of the lap time difference here. Lewis Hamilton was nearly 5/10 slower than Max Verstappen on his fastest outing. One could say that the run plans, fuel loads, etc. of Mercedes during the practice sessions could have been different from their rivals. Let's get to that a bit later in this video. But if you still think that Mercedes are sandbagging, let's get right into the pieces of evidence, which I think suggests otherwise. First, let's start with the star factor of the puzzle. Mercedes has an 8-time world champion at their ranks, Lewis Hamilton. Love him or hate him, you got to show respect to the achievements he has made in this sport since his debut. If you are aware about Hamilton's current state at Mercedes, he will only be with the team this year unless a new deal has been signed. When you look at last year, everyone wanted to know if Lewis Hamilton is going to stay or leave Mercedes. Toto Wolff at that time period said that contract negotiations will take place during the winter break when the cameras are off. Well, the winter break is over, but a new deal between Hamilton and Mercedes has not yet been signed. If you watched Drive to Survive Season 5, you know that Lewis is hungry for that 8th world title. That's all left for him in this sport. He has done almost everything that a great racer could do in this sport, but that 8th title will make Lewis the greatest of all time. Shows why he wants that 8th title so much. But if he indeed wants to race for that 8th title, why is he not signing a new contract with the Silver Arrows? Well, the rumor out there is that Hamilton wants to see how the W14 performs before signing a new deal. He wants to know if the W14 is capable of competing at the front with the likes of Ferrari and Red Bull. Lewis has been on the simulator all winter trying to understand the W14. I don't think he is trusting the simulator that much, considering what happened with the W13 last season. He wants to know if the W14 could win races, or at least eventually get to a race-winning position. A new deal with Mercedes would put Lewis Hamilton on the spotlight as the highest-paid Formula One driver of all time. Several sources confirmed that Mercedes are willing to pay $100 million a year for the Brit services. We are talking about a huge amount of money, yet Lewis is not interested on any of those figures. All he wants is that 8th Drivers' World Championship to his name. Until the Brit is satisfied that the W14 could make that possible, he probably is not going to sign a new contract with the Brackley-based squad. Lewis Hamilton's former teammate, Jenson Button, also said the same thing to media. Why otherwise would you leave it this late? He knows how annoying we all are asking, Button said. I mean, we've got to ask the question, but he's going to hate answering it over and over and over and over again. It can only be because he's wondering how competitive they will be. Lewis Hamilton is an icon in the motorsports industry, means that he has a lot of promotional work up his sleeves. Also, he is into the movie industry and vastly investing in the sports industry. Those are all new challenges he is venturing into. A challenge he does not want to venture into is fighting in the midfield in a Mercedes car. What he wants is to win. He wants to show how competitive he is after losing his 8th title by 1 lap at the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So, if indeed Mercedes were sandbagging, Lewis would know that for sure. And if he did believe that Mercedes has the performance it needs to be competitive, he would have signed a new deal with the Silver Arrows. The second piece of evidence I present to you is the performance of the team over the pre-season test. Take a look at how they performed in the 2022 pre-season testing. Mercedes bought a car, which was an unexciting car, with sidepods to Spain. Mercedes were bouncing, the car had a lot of issues, but the team did not care. Coming to Bahrain, the team introduced the W13 with the narrow sidepods design. The team claimed that the car will be 1.5 seconds quicker than its closest rivals. But what really happened to the team was disastrous. The team thought that the new concept within the W13 would solve all its Spain testing issues, but that overconfidence hit the team hard. Lewis Hamilton spent most of his time testing various setups to try and make the W13 perform better. Why did that happen to Mercedes last season? The reason is sandbagging. The team was sandbagging during the entire pre-season testing, overconfident of the numbers it got from the simulator and the wind tunnel. If they weren't sandbagging from the first place, the team would have found out the underlying problems of the W13 firsthand and would have had time to solve those issues. I think the team has learned the lesson of when, where and how to sandbag. When asked Toto Wolff about this, he said, "Last year, we learned a tough lesson because we knew that we would bring an upgrade package for test number 2 that was worth 1.5 seconds, Toto explained. You then look at the first test and think it's not really relevant because it's not going to be the real car. But we put it on track and it wasn't performing at all as we expected. So this year we went the other way around. What you've seen is for a large part the car we will test and race. It is fundamentally important to understand the platform and how the car behaves, rather than keeping some bits in the background that may be a tenth or two on pure aero performance." Sandbagging in the 2022 preseason testing led to the team enduring its worst performed season in 10 years. According to what we heard from Toto, the team won't be making the same mistake this year. That is why we believe that what Mercedes bought to preseason testing this year would largely be what you get at the season's opener at Bahrain. Look at how testing went for the silver arrows this year. Day 1, the car was okay, according to both Brits. On day 2, Hamilton was struggling to get grips with the W14 as he was always losing the rear. Talking about his session on day 2, Hamilton said, "They're just things that we're working through," Hamilton told the media. "Some of the balance limitations that we had last year are just present. So, we're working through them." We even saw the team having an emergency meeting with the drivers and engineers at the end of the second day of testing, and the team working overnight to settle the W14's issues. On the same day, George Russell's session was interrupted due to a hydraulics issue, which costed the team about 50 laps of data. A team sandbagging would not want to waste their precious time by having reliability issues. According to most experts in Formula 1, they rank the top 3 teams after testing, the order being Red Bull, followed by Ferrari, followed by Aston Martin. Most of the experts ranked Mercedes as the 4th fastest car, as the car did not exhibit pace or even a stable ride. If you still do not believe that Mercedes is not sandbagging, let me get to the last piece of evidence. Remember, we talked about how the first 2 practice sessions went away from Mercedes. The second practice session at Bahrain was very crucial, as it was the only time of the day where realistic qualifying track conditions take place. Even in times like that, Mercedes could not even get close to the top of the timing sheets. Let's say that Mercedes are sandbagging. What is the possibility of other teams not sandbagging? Let's take Aston Martin as an exemption. If Mercedes are sandbagging, there is a high possible chance that Ferrari and Red Bull are sandbagging too. Take the race run pace for example. While the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso was trading times 4/10 off Verstappen's pace, Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton was well over a second slower. That does show how much performance they are lacking. I know, some Mercedes fans are still thinking that Mercedes is sandbagging with the W14. But I hate to break it to you, I firmly believe they are not. I really would love to watch a 3 or a 4 team fight for both championships, but I don't think Mercedes are really in the fight for now. I could be wrong, and Mercedes could show their full pace during qualifying of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Who knows what the silver arrows have up their sleeves? But what do you guys think? Are Mercedes really sandbagging with the W14? Does the W14 have the pace to challenge Red Bull and Ferrari at the Bahrain Grand Prix? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section down below. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2023 Formula 1 season.